What's up, friends? My name is Jess. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another tag video. It's 2021 and I'm still catching up on all of the tags that my friends tagged me in, so expect another 3 or 4. I don't even know how many are left. But today we're doing the book superlatives tag. This tag was originally created by Kirsten's Corner, and I'll make sure to link her channel and her video down below. I was personally tagged by Katie from Katie Can't Read, so thanks, love. Basically, this tag is inspired by yearbook superlatives. I'm gonna have different prompts based around popular yearbook superlatives like class clown, most dramatic, most likely to be president, things like that. And I'm gonna pick a book that I read in 2020 to fit each superlative. Now let's get started. The first superlative is Class Clown, the funniest book I read this year, and I didn't even really have to think about it. I chose Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is one of the last books that I read in 2020. I read it mid to late December, and it was great. Red, White, and Royal Blue is a romance contemporary that follows a sort of enemies to lovers story between the son of the American president and the Prince of Wales. It was so cute, it was so wholesome, there were so many feelings. I almost cried, but honestly the feeling that I took away from that book the most was just feeling happy and joyful because there was so much humor in it. Casey McQuiston was so good at writing banter. You have banter between the American president's son, Alex, and his sister, along with all of the members of his family. His entire family is really sweet and supportive, and they tease each other a lot, which I thought was great. But you also have banter between Alex and his love interest Henry and their friend group that they form later in the book. It's just also great. The banter is amazing. The humor, the poking fun at each other. It's kind of a sarcastic, sometimes dry, witty humor that I just love. The next superlative is Drama Queen, the most dramatic book that I read this year, and honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer, but it's a bad kind of drama. And I tried to think of something else to consider as the most dramatic book of the year, and then the only thing I could think about were the Vampire Diaries books that I read by L.J. Smith, I think, which is again another kind of bad drama. So I'm just gonna say those two vampire series have to be the most dramatic books that I read this year, but it's not a good kind of drama, mainly in terms of the romantic relationships in the books, where you have Elena throwing a tantrum fit because her aunt is upset that she's engaged to a guy she's known for 3 months while she's still in high school, and then you have quite literally everything that Edward does in Twilight. To be honest, he's the biggest drama queen and blows everything out of proportion, has the biggest overreactions to everything, both in things that are just ridiculous and then things that are straight up abusive. Those two series, the most dramatic things ever, and it's not the most enjoyable kind of drama, it's the drama that you make fun of. The next superlative is Class Couple, which is my favorite book couple, and I'm just gonna warn you right now that my heart wants to say Red, White, and Royal Blue or The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid for just about every question. For the sake of not just repeating books over and over again, I'm gonna say Julian and Yadriel from Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. Cemetery Boys follows Yadriel, who is a brujo, trying to prove to his family that his identity as a boy and as a brujo in the family is valid. To do so, he tries to summon back the spirit of his recently murdered cousin, but he accidentally summons Julian, the resident bad boy from his high school that he didn't even know was dead. Julian and Yadriel are so cute, especially because they really start out solidly as friends, trying to help each other in the very beginning. Their relationship just develops and they're trying so hard for each other. And the banter. The thing that you're gonna learn from this video the most is that I really like banter and teasing each other and kind of just poking fun at different characters. And Yadriel and Julian are the best at it. Well, considering the fact that I didn't want to say Red, White, and Royal Blue again. They are really good at it, and they have a lot of chemistry. I thought they were really cute. The next superlative is Most Changed, the book with the best character growth, and for this I chose Slay by Brittany Morris. This book follows 17-year-old Kira Johnson, who, unbeknownst to any of her family or friends, has developed a video game that's actually quite popular. The purpose of the video game is to celebrate Black culture and provide a safe space for Black people all around the world, but unfortunately, a scandal happens and the video game is suddenly being accused of being anti-white, and Kira finds herself in a lot of trouble while trying to maintain her anonymous identity as the game developer. This was a bit of a tough question for me, trying to figure it out, because I don't always remember the character growth that happens in every book that I've read, but Kira definitely had a lot of character growth, that's without a doubt. Kira's under a lot of pressure to kind of follow this image of what she thinks that she has to do. You know, she believes that she definitely has to go to a historically black college that's near a college that her boyfriend wants to go to so that they can build this life that they've been dreaming of having together for a while, even though that might not be what she wants to do. Ultimately, by the end of the novel, Kira is just so much more confident in herself, in her desires and her passions and what she actually wants to do with her future, and she's such a strong character by the end of it. She definitely learns how to put her foot down, and she learns how to embrace all of the things that she should have been proud of from the very beginning. Next superlative is most popular, the book character that I want to be best friends with. Again, it would be really easy to say Red, White, and Royal Blue because they have the best friend group, but Radio Silence by Alice Oseman is a very close second. Of course, you have the main friendship in the book, which is between Frances and Alec, and it's amazing. They're really good friends to each other, really accepting of each other's passions and all of the things that they think other people would find really weird. But eventually later in the novel, they also form a larger friend group that includes a few other people. And what I love the most about this friend group is that they are so ready to be supportive and help each other and go the extra mile to be the best friends that they can be, even going so far as taking a whole road trip to help one of their friends who hasn't been talking to them for a while and they're a little bit worried. And for that reason, I would definitely want to be best friends with them and that friend group because I value that loyalty a lot, and I think those are the kinds of friends that you need. Next superlative is most likely to be president, the book character that you think would be most likely to be president one day. Again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but Alex from Red, White, and Royal Blue, considering he's literally the president's son and he wants to be a politician. But other than that, maybe Lisa from the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead, or Winter from the Lunar Chronicle series by Marissa Meyer. Because both of them are royals, so I feel like that's close enough. They've been raised their entire lives to be diplomatic, so it would probably be helpful. Next prompt is most likely to brighten your day, which is the happiest book you read in 2020, and for me, that's probably You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This was a hard question to answer because I don't normally read very happy books. I like sadder, I like more tragic, more dramatic. I want to be emotionally destroyed. Every time I think of You Should See Me in a Crown, I definitely smile. I think that book was the first sapphic romance that I've ever read before, and as a queer girl, that meant a lot to me. But more specifically, whenever I think of the scene where our main character and our love interest kiss for the first time, my heart warms. It was precious, it was sweet, it was magical. I was just so happy for them to the point where I couldn't stop smiling while I was listening to this scene, and it still makes me so happy. That's my answer. Can you tell I have totally given up on giving you these summaries for these books? I'm sorry, but I'm not here for it right now. Okay, next up is Best Entertainer, the most entertaining book that I read this year, and I'm gonna have to say The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. I read this book in December, and it's a Scrooge retelling where essentially there's this program where every year they pick a person who is a Scrooge. They're a bad person, they treat people badly, but there's an opportunity to reform them, and the program works the entire year to learn all the details of their life and eventually visit them on the night before Christmas as the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. I read a lot of good books this year. I read a lot of books that kept me engaged, that kept me entertained, but The Afterlife of Holly Chase is probably the one that I just had the most fun with. It wasn't in my top 5, and I wouldn't say that objectively it's the best written book that I read in 2020, but it was just so much fun seeing Cynthia Hand take the Scrooge story and then turn it into an entire operation. And I thought it was just so much fun seeing all the little details of the story brought into The Afterlife of Holly Chase and then tweaked to fit this modern take on it. I had a great time the entire time, even though I kind of knew where I was going. That didn't really bother me because I just liked seeing the world being built the whole time. Next superlative is most unique. So I actually have 3 possible answers. Actually, I'm gonna narrow it down to 2. One of which is A Madness of Angels by Kate Griffin, and the other being The Liminal People by Ayize Jama Everett. I don't think I rated either of these books very high just because they weren't necessarily the books for me, but they were definitely very unique in their world building. In A Madness of Angels, you have kind of an urban fantasy magic system here, but what I thought stood out was the way the magic was described. Kate Griffin kind of describes that you can feel the magic, it has a sort of sense to it, and the way magic feels in the city versus how it feels in the country is different, and how it interacts with magic users is also very different. In this world, magic is very much a thing that is alive, and it can affect a lot of things, it can act differently, it's alive and it's dangerous. You have to be careful with magic because you can be overwhelmed by it and you can be overtaken and destroyed by it if you're not careful. And then the liminal people, the best way I can describe the world building is kind of like X-Men, but shady and gritty. So you have the liminal people who each have their own special ability. Our main character has the ability to heal, or rather has the ability to affect different parts of the body. And what this means is that while he can heal you if you are hurt, he can also do the opposite. He can hurt you, he can raise your blood pressure so that you feel intimidated when he's around, he can slowly shut down parts of your body. Literally anything that is related to your body parts and your physical health, he can affect. The concept of different people having different abilities special to them isn't unique, but it was cool to see someone finally take that idea and go the full mile with it instead of staying in the safe zone, you know, really thinking about it and thinking, well, if they can do this, what is the limit of their power? What else can they do with it, you know? The next superlative is most unforgettable. I have a really bad memory, so I can't confidently say any of them, but if I had to choose one, it would probably be one of the Taylor Jenkins Reid's books that I read, so Daisy Jones and the Six or The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Taylor Jenkins Reid is definitely my favorite author of 2020. I just loved both stories so much. I thought they had incredible depth and they were such a deep, intimate look into humanity and what humans are capable of, because in both stories you have characters that are so deeply flawed and they're morally gray and they do things that if you were just on the outside looking in, you'd be like, oh, I would hate them for that. They're terrible people for doing that. But because Taylor Jenkins Reid drops you in the middle of it and brings you so close to them and who they are as a person, you can't help but maybe not forgive them, but feel sorry for them because they're just humans making mistakes. Both of the books just made me feel so many emotions. And the last superlative is most organized, the most well thought out book that I read in 2020. Again, this is a difficult question for me to answer because if I can't even remember the books, how am I supposed to remember the details of them that would make them the most organized, you know? To give you an answer, I'm just gonna go with The Diviners by Libba Bray. In terms of plot, from what I remember, it's not the most complicated plot that I read throughout the year. When you think of this question and you think of most well thought out, you probably think of kind of intricate plots and little details and foreshadowing that come out later and it's just so meticulous, but I really can't remember that. So I'm gonna go with The Diviners because it's the book that I remember the most as being well researched. Mind you, I read The Diviners at the beginning of 2020 when I was starting my last semester of college, and I also happened to be taking a history of journalism class during that semester, so I know that this book was really well researched because there were a bunch of little hints and different little tidbits of information dropped that I knew were true and accurate because I was learning them at the time. And even beyond that, you could not read a single page of this book and not know that this was taking place in the 20s. The slang was perfect, the clothing, how the characters were acting was on point. Libba Bray did an amazing job of setting this scene and making you know without a shadow of a doubt that this was taking place in the 20s. I personally thought it was the most well-researched book of all the ones that I've read, so I'm gonna count that as most organized. And that is the end of that tag. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing all of my answers. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Like I mentioned, I have so many tags left to do, so you know that I definitely have videos coming out. And I also have so many ideas that I'm excited to film and put up for you guys, so I would love to have your support and would love to have you as a part of the journey with me. Also, make sure to like this video and comment below. Let me know what you thought about the books that you read during this year, or if you have any thoughts on the books that I read and mentioned. In the meantime, I will see you guys in the next one.